Good morning. I'm delighted to be here again with you all speaking at the Rural Water webinar. Indeed, it is hard to believe that a year has passed since we met, albeit virtually, in September 2020. And what a year it's been for us all. To quote Dickens, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. For the best of times, our national hearts were filled with pride and immense joy as we watched in eager anticipation while our wonderful Olympians and Paralympians, who, despite having a very difficult preparatory time, gave us such pleasure and enjoyment. I certainly had shivers watching our tricolour fly majestically over the Tokyo stadiums and listening to our Rán Naveen for our many gold medal recipients. And with the best of times, we also had the worst of times. The COVID-19 global pandemic, which indeed made us intensely conscious of the significant importance of our precious natural resource, being water. I want to take the opportunity today to thank you all, the workers and volunteers, particularly those managing community-owned and community-run group water schemes located right across rural Ireland. You have all worked tirelessly to keep the water supplies for our communities running and flowing smoothly through these difficult times. Thank you. In keeping with the theme of the conference, Future-Proofing the Rural Water Sector, I want to today give you an overview on the multi-annual Rural Water Programme 2019 to 21, being Strand 1, and the ongoing review of the rural water sector, being Strand 2. The current multi-annual programme runs from 19 to 21, and it aims to provide funding certainty for important investment needs and to support sustainable planning and development in rural areas. Funded through the National Development Plan, it has made a total of 73 million in funding available over the 3-year cycle of the programme. The current programme consists of 8 separate measures to reflect the key challenges facing the rural water sector, including protection and improvement of our water resources through source protection, water treatment improvements, water conservation, and supporting innovation. As Minister O'Brien mentioned earlier, group water schemes provide an invaluable service to our families, our farms, and our businesses in rural Ireland. And these schemes are one of the best examples of our rural communities working together, or in Irish, ag obair le chéile. The department is fully committed to supporting the rural water sector by providing equity of treatment and financial supports equivalent to the public water sector. As you all know, a robust and cohesive rural water sector is a vital part of the communities and local economies of rural Ireland, and for the ongoing development of our rural towns and villages. In keeping with this, in April 2018, the Minister established a working group, the Rural Water Working Group, to conduct a review of the wider investment needs relating to our rural water services. This followed from a recommendation from the Joint Oireachtas Committee on the future funding of domestic water services. The committee recommended that the principles of equity of treatment and equivalent financial support be equally applied between those households using public water services and those availing of private water services, and also that a review of the funding be undertaken. Given both the importance and scale of this task, it was considered essential that the working group would have access to the most accurate and recent comprehensive information on all aspects of the rural water sector. This provision of independent assessment needs in this area will provide data on the gaps to be addressed and provide for more targeted investment. Therefore, following an inclusive tender process, Tobin consulting engineers were appointed in Q1 of this year. They will carry out a research and information gathering exercise that will provide comprehensive data on the rural water sector, which will, when complete, inform the deliberations of the working group. So what were Tobins asked to do? Tobins are asked to prepare a report on the governance, supervision, funding, and wider investment needs relating to the rural water sector. Importantly, the report will also review the system of monitoring drinking water quality in the sector and how deficiencies which have public health implications are identified and responded to. The report will be broken down into two parts, Assignment 1 and Assignment 2. Assignment 1 will be a literature review report focusing on the existing national operation of the rural water sector. It will identify and review relevant available information from various sources on the present governance, supervision, and wider investment needs of the sector, specifically reviewing the adequacy of existing exchequer and local investment in the sector. In addition, it will review the system of monitoring drinking water quality in the sector, adherence with the relevant water quality regulations, and how deficiencies are identified and responded to, including through investigation and enforcement actions if suppliers, including group water schemes, are not taking steps to improve the water that they supply. The report will provide an assessment of the completeness of the current information, literature, and data available for the sector. It will identify any discrepancies and consider relevant best international practice. Assignment 1 is currently nearing completion. Assignment 2 will focus on a regional, in-depth assessment of the sector by directly consulting its stakeholders. The output will identify all relevant information on the current governance, supervision, and funding provision and quality monitoring systems of all rural water services. As I said, it will do this by directly consulting with 8 representative local authorities and other main stakeholders of the sector, being the EPA, the HSE, the Federation themselves, DPO operators, and some representative group water schemes. This assignment will involve the generation of important new data for the working group to consider when the report is completed. The 8 selected authorities are Mayo, Galway, Limerick, Tipperary, Wexford, Cavan, Clare, and Cork County Councils. These authorities are collectively considered to be representative of the scale and range within the rural water sector and include a mixture of private and public group water schemes, small private supplies, private water supplies serving a house, commonly called private wells, and domestic wastewater treatment systems. The output report should address the efficacy of the present arrangements for the provision of rural water services within the sector. Thus, Assignment 2, being progressed in parallel with Assignment 1, will report on the overall assessment and wider investment needs in the short to medium term, taking a 10-year horizon of the rural water sector. The complete report will be delivered by Tobin to the working group by the end of 2021. The rural water sector plays and will continue to play a fundamental role in delivering key policy objectives of the government, with specific regard to protecting and improving water resources for rural communities now and into the future. The 3 key themes set out in the Water Services Policy Statement 2018-25, published by the government in 2018, of quality in drinking water and wastewater treatment, conservation, tackling leakage and excessive usage, and future-proofing, considering economic growth, resilience and climate change, will guide water policy objectives for the water services in Ireland, including rural water services. Looking into the future, we will continue to review the rural water sector investment needs. The Rural Water Working Group will progress strand 2 of the review, along with the full report that is due in the end of 2021. Also, and very importantly for the rural water sector, the working group are currently finalising the framework for the multi-annual Rural Water Programme 22-24. The bids process for this programme will begin shortly. Delegates, I must mention funding under the current programme as well. Over 600 projects were provided with funding in 2019 to do capital works under the programme, which runs to the end of 21. This funding is across a range of measures, mainly source protection, water treatment, networks improvements, and taking in charge. I am aware that COVID restrictions made making progress on work challenging, but some progress was made. Ireland, thankfully, is coming to the end of these restrictions. Therefore, I ask that every effort is now made to speedily complete works under the programme where not already complete or indeed underway. I can assure promoters today that projects that were not completed or started before the end of 21 will continue to have funding available to them in the upcoming programme 22-24. This is provided that they are completed within the first year of the start of the new programme, that is by the end of 22, or otherwise they will have to reapply for funding in the bids process under the upcoming programme. In conclusion, I want again to thank you all sincerely, especially to all the Group Water Scheme members, teams and supporting stakeholders throughout the country who work diligently to provide water services for our families, businesses and communities. I also want to thank the National Federation of Group Water Schemes for the work that they do and continue to do by working in partnership with the department to ensure the protection of our water resources and its associated infrastructure leads to quality water for all of our communities. Thank you.